Just because you hear the silence, that doesn't mean that I'm being quiet. I'm praying. My head, my heart, my chest, my stomach, my hands, my knees, my ankles, my feet. Though visibly steady, many times they're uneasy in so many.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Mack. It's a wonderful day.
A blessed day,
Say it again, please.
a very blessed day.
Yes, it is by the grace of God. And I'm so happy to see you today. Now we're going to pray that God will be with us as He always is, but we don't neglect to pray that He is with us and that He keeps us while we are sharing with the world. So, dear God, as we sit before you to speak, we pray to you that our souls you will keep. And if we should die before we finish, we pray to you, dear God, in the name of Jesus, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. Amen. The Mother's Board Inc. And we talk about sports, we talk about current events, we talk about politics, we talk about whatever we have on the agenda. And so it's just wonderful being here again with Dr. Mack on the Mother's Board Inc. Dr. Mack.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm looking forward to our discussion today. Um, as Pastor Shirley said, we just go across the spectrum. Anything that we felt that caused us to take a look. Um, we feel that there are things out there that cause you. So if you ever have a question and you want us to explore it, just email us in. All the data you need is in the opening credit. So, shall we get started, Pastor Shirley?
Yes, ma'am, and I will have give you the privilege.
Oh, you're giving me the
The
privilege
privilege.
of doing, and I'm gonna acknowledge that I'll be switching screens here. So, here's the first question. The first question: what reasons are being given for the polls that show that the young people are leaving the mega movement? What reasons do you believe are being given to show that young people are leaving the mega movement?
Hmm.
No, I checked it. I read it earlier, then I reread it this morning, and we're talking depending on the age group. The under 20, the over 30. At the highest numbers, like 24% are leaving. Why are they leaving? Well, why is everybody talking about the tariffs? They are concerned about the effect that that's going to have on their lives. Now, we're talking this younger generation is a sort of me generation. So, cutting my job, or maybe cutting a job of a friend who's very close to me, that affects how I feel. And maybe I should have thought more carefully about the way I cast my vote. And a second premise under that is not only, the tariffs and the loss of money. Money is all of it. But the other seems to be this sort of heavy-handed approach, especially when you are taking the visas away from persons who are in college from other countries. And you say they spoke against the government, but you're not doing any evidence. You're just simply taking them because you have the power to take them, or someone posted something that you may have said in a secondhand manner. But I question that large number that they kept putting up there, because being around young people under 30 and then going up to the ones at 55 and 60, you know,
Mhm.
we're very practical. They're very practical. They're very realistic. You didn't say this was what you meant when you said you're going to take care of tariffs. and it's affecting me. And I don't really know how much more effect it's going to be.
Well, it's going. Some more going to leave. Or and you know that too. Yeah.
Yes,
They're leaving, but they thought they had something that was solid gold.
yes,
Yeah, they thought they
yes.
had that, but it's hey, what do they call that? Food gold.
That's true. That's a
Yeah,
lovely way to put it. And
everything glitters is not gold.
and I love the little tag they put on them. They're called
Mhm.
Crypto Brothers. You know, because
Ah,
the
yes.
incoming administrator was things were going to be great with crypto. You were going to make all this money, and they're seeing that may not happen, and they don't want to hear about how does he put it. Times may be tough or short. They don't want that. That's not what they voted for.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Who's gold? I like that.
That's what it is, and they're regretting it. Really regretting it too. Yes, ma'am. And so we'll go with this. What's your take on administrative era? Quote, end quote. What's your take on the administrative era? That's what they call it. That caused Kilmar Abrego Garcia to be deported to El Salvador. Do you think only one administrative error was made in the deportations? No, there was not one because they said there was 75% of those people have no evidence of any criminal activity.
Okay.
And they said, let me find that piece because of course you know I delved off into it. I dove off into it. Yes, ma'am. It's 75. Oh, I think that's on my other. Let me go to my other. Okay, yeah. Let me get there. Where it says 75% of those people that they sent over there have no evidence of criminal activity. And they were just sending people because of their ethnicity. I say it like that. That's why they just picked them up and just sent them over there and just packed all of them in the same bag of thought. I'll put it like that because they know that they say that some of the people of that, should I say nationality? I'll say that
Minnesota, yeah.
they're criminals. Not they're not all criminals, and
Yeah.
they have found out. And so I know that the Supreme Court ordered them to send one was it the Supreme Court to send that man, get him and bring him back
Him
home.
back.
Bring him back home. It's such a terrible thing that all this prejudice and hate and all that toward others is here, but it's been here and we've experienced it all of our lives. But just to
Right.
pick up a bunch of people, well, they've done us like that, and send them off and say, just because you're this and just because you're that, you're a criminal. And that's what the guy's been saying all along anyway, putting
Yeah.
everybody in the same bag.
You know, the term they used to use, well, they still use with us
Mm.
was racial profiling. You know,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
fit the profile, then you go. But
Yes, ma'am.
you've had the families of several of these people saying, "Wait a minute, I've known a long time and not part of M13 or anyone else." You
Mm-mm.
know, the someone may have, you know how it works. Someone may have given his name, thinking they get a break. But again, that's sort of it doesn't look like the administration is going to change his mind and bring him home, although the courts keep saying you have to bring him back. I don't really see them admitting to that kind of mistake. But when you're working with numbers like that, Pastor Shirley, you're
Mm.
bound to pick up some that you shouldn't.
Right.
You're
Right.
bound to do that. And, and if that is a mistake, you know what? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. Let's bring this man back to his wife and his children.
Anybody with good morals would do that.
Yeah, just it's a mistake. The numbers are really, they're really, but at this point, I think when the campaign was going on, we were spouting all of these numbers, but I think they're sort of having trouble making up. Making sure you have to have so many each week to
Hmm.
have this astronomical number that you say was here. And
Hmm.
I'm not judging or anything. I'm just saying, if you have no evidence, bring him back.
Bring them back, because it says 75% of the 238 migrants. Now that's 75% of the 238
Wow.
migrants sent to the El Salvadorian prison known as the Center for, what is it, Terrorism
Mhm.
Confinement, the CECOT. It had no traces of a criminal record. 75%, they just scoop those people up because they are who they are, their nationality, their ethnicity, and took them over there. It said that the administration invoked the rarely used Alien Enemies Act to put
Right.
hundreds of Venezuelan and Salvadoran migrants on deportation flights to El Salvador on allegations that they
Mm.
were criminals with extensive gang ties. However, just a small fraction of these migrants had ever been charged with serious crimes in the U.S.
Wow.
75% of those people, and this source here is from Microsoft Bing. That's what I
Hmm.
got this source from. 75% of 238 people.
That's a very, very large number to
Yes,
me.
ma'am. Yes,
And
ma'am.
again, these are things that were said during the campaign, and we're still trying to keep the campaign promise. But let's have evidence when we do this. You know, just as those persons were loaded into the planes, and then you see them being, displayed, photo
Mm-hmm.
op situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to use that phrase, "thus too you go I,"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if not for the grace of God,
There are
you know,
people. Yeah,
and
right.
and it has been already. So I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. But we are using these antiquated laws. I mean,
Oh,
every
yeah.
time I turn around, there's
Mm-hmm.
something before my grannies were born. We're going back to
Right.
1700s.
Right. Right. And they gave him permission, a clearance to use those laws.
Antiquated.
Yes, ma'am. And then also, if you can recall, I think it was week before last, they were deporting people, and the judge issued an order for them to turn the plane around,
Yes.
and he
Yes.
would not
No.
have that
The
plane turned
plane had
around.
already taken off. It was already in airspace.
But she said, turn it around. And they turn around in the airspace all the time. But they blatantly disobeyed a court order. So what do you do with people like that? They are setting their own decline up. Because
I
when
don't
they
know.
defy the law like that, and that's the gist of it all. The campaign that was run was just, everything was based on a false, everything false, things that were made up, accusations and degrading people, especially people who are very intelligent, have IQs and intelligence levels that will cover theirs three times over, and degrading those people and saying things about the people that the people are not, and then accusing the people of things that they have never done, and all of that. And so anybody that does that, and then these people, well, of course, we know that, and I'll stand on it for the rest of my life. I don't believe that he won.
I didn't.
I believe that that guy stole it for him, and I believe that, and I will continue to believe that. And so everything that was done, it was based on false, everything false, and then, well, it was based on everything false. So
No, I understand where you're going.
it does that.
My
and then
question,
they defy the law, nobody can deal with them but God.
yeah, my
Hmm.
question is, when will others see the emperor's new clothes? 'Cause if we're seeing it, why aren't others seeing it? However, because eventually there's going to be a stop. There's going to be, you will not write anything negative. You will not speak anything negative. It's going to come to that because, you know, and out of the mouths of babes, these young people are actually wiser than these 60-plus-year-old
Of
people. They
course,
see right away something isn't right,
of
you
course,
know? Well, when you said tariff, I understood that it meant tax increase, but
right.
I had no idea you were going to approach it the way you have. I know you want to get to China, but look who you're punishing the rest of the world just to get to China.
And China has too much power, and oh, that's one of my
No, that's okay because it links right into it. It
right. China,
yeah.
and he's playing with fire, and that's why one of the reasons that he changed up, because he realized, and I think they now look, I don't, you better back off of that, because you have to understand. And I want to, but go ahead with one of your questions, Dr. Mack.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the on
Oh,
the young
you
man
finished? Excuse me.
not being brought back. Is
Right.
that's the necessary? That's however, and if it's one case, guess what? There are more than one. More
Well,
than one.
they say
Uh,
here it's 75% of the 238 people that they sent over there are innocent people, have no illegal, no criminal,
no, no
nothing,
evidence.
nothing. And that's what counts. The no evidence is what speaks for itself of any criminal activity. And so, and then somebody mentioned, and a criminal is sending people away saying they have criminal activity.
Well, before we leave that, can we just talk about the students whose visas are just being
Oh,
pulled?
yes.
Yeah, because someone said, or you were passing by during a demonstration, and I'm going to pull your visa, and you have a matter of hours to get out of the country.
Hmm.
Um, you invited them in here, and your advisor uses a lot of workers on the H-1B visa,
Hmm.
but it's again, you're saying they made anti-Semitic statements, but don't we get to say that we can say what we want? As we're not harming anyone. But I was noticing the colleges, just in this North Texas region, that's quite a number of people to pull. Now, granted, I'm always for the African American kid, another slot for an African American kid, but I don't know, Pastor Shirley. I think that's sort of arbitrary and capricious. That kind of action is wrong.
It
It's
is
absolutely
definitely
wrong.
wrong.
Which
Absolutely.
leads us to our next question.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go off screen a moment.
Okay. Okay.
Can you think of two actions that occurred this week from the White House that would appear to be, quote, revenge politics, unquote? Two actions, two things that were said or two things that were done that just no lawyer has to tell you. You know it's revenge politics. You know
Hmm.
that I liked what Kamala Harris called it. You
Okay.
know his hit list, his enemies list.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Can you
Hmm.
can you just think of two, just right off with no problems whatsoever? Ever.
Uh, two this week. Hmm. I don't know. He's done so much.
Well, while you're thinking, how do you feel about him pulling the federal funding from the universities who won't do what he says do? The ones who look what's going to happen to TCU. They're going to wind $17.4 million because they're dissolving their DEI.
Oh, okay.
component.
Okay,
Yeah,
got that. Yeah.
I said you had to do it. So you didn't do it. So I'm gonna hold this grant money. You do it, then I'll release the money to you. I mean, but he started with the Ivy League schools.
Mhm.
He started with, you know, anyone who was still preaching against what. But that's the way you. This is a whole nother generation that's gonna come up not really knowing the truth. They'll know his truth, but they won't know the historical truth. And the law firms that have gone against him in court,
Mhm.
and if he's he's having those law firms investigated. Any holdover from the Biden administration, any person who was with the Biden administration, who he can find, he's having them investigated, and in most cases, just plain out fired. And I don't know if Vice President Harris meant that kind of behavior, but yeah, and the people in Georgia, and look what is happening to Bonnie, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, you can't keep doing that and get away with it. I don't like you. I'm gonna put a federal investigation on you. I'm gonna withhold money. I'm gonna go through and just destroy your life.
And he's not supposed to be able to do that. It, he's not. That he has. He's supposed to go through uh, Congress or the Senate for certain things, but they're letting him do this stuff, and so he's just going as far as he can. And he's working fast and furious, and also he wanted to now, not this week, but I know it's on his mind because anything that he can think of that somebody does not agree with him on, he still holds that in the. Now he can hold that in that mind, but that, but he, if he could, there was a thing that where he was trying to. Um, what is it? Uh, dismiss the pardons that
Oh,
President Biden did, but he can't do that. But he's trying everything he can. He's got people constantly researching the old laws that are still on the books to find out if he has some kind of loophole where he can do what he wants to do. And that's what he's doing. So as far as this week, yeah, I remember about the DEI, and I remember they were interviewing some students, I believe, about that. And so, it's just something. But when people do things like that and they're moving fast and furious, something is behind them.
okay.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I love the Fast and Furious because uh, if you close your eyes, that's the kind of thing that you see,
Hmm.
and and you keep, as in that kind of high octane racing, you know,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
usually when they get overconfident, something happens
Of course.
that's very bad.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's a nice phrase for that, Fast and
Hmm.
Furious.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
but if you, it's almost like you don't do what I want you to do, then I'm gonna punish you because you didn't do it when I asked you to.
And it's not just like that. It is that.
It
That's what
is
that's,
like
that's
it
what
is
he
that way.
wants. Yes, and he's not supposed to be able to do that. Not just
Wow.
say, I don't like you, so I'm going to write sign an order to extinguish you and punish you and all that. And we've never had a president to do that
No. Well, look
before.
what's happening. Just this week? Well, the
Hmm.
cartel's the problem in Mexico. And first of all, I thought you're just being awful because the president of Mexico is a woman. Because you keep trying to run over, and you keep finding out that she's not moving. But you cannot take your planes of destruction, your airplanes of destruction, and just go across the border, and because you decided that they needed to be wiped out and do that because that's not yours to do.
Right.
You can't just up and do that.
And then another thing he's overlooking is that, hey, Mexico is in the United States too. There are many citizens from Mexico in the United States. So you have to watch from, you never know what's coming from within while you're looking out and expecting something to happen outside. Something is happening within. So people just, okay, and I'm not going to elaborate on that, but they need to be careful. They
Well,
do.
and they have dual citizenship.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
in some countries where you go and you have to give up the citizenship of your birth to become a citizen of that. But
Hmm.
Mexico has dual citizenship. But it's
Right.
just brazen to decide
And
that
it,
okay, I'm
hmm
just gonna take. I have these planes. They have the ability to take care of it, wipe
hmm
cartels out. But then at the same time, look how much stuff comes from Mexico,
exactly.
all of the food products. If I wanted to buy a new Frigidaire freezer today, it would come from Mexico. Not necessarily China, but Mexico. I mean, if I wanted to buy a new car, depending on what I bought, put together in Mexico. So, and how? Who gives you the right to do that? I don't understand it.
He's just taking the right, and they're just letting him do that. But it's all going to, and see, and all these people who are protesting now, you
Uh-huh.
I know you've heard it in your family. The same. I know that I said this probably on one of the other shows. The same thing that'll make you laugh will make you cry.
That's true.
All those who were so happy that he moved into the White House again. They were so happy, and
Yeah.
many of them are out holding picket signs or whatever. He's got picket signs and protests and all that, holding signs because he has touched them.
Right. That's
And
what we were saying.
uh-huh,
It won't matter. The message from the early town hall meetings, it
uh-huh,
didn't matter until it was me and mine. It was okay
exactly.
while it was you and yours. We didn't,
Right.
oh, I'm so sorry about that.
Oh
But
yeah.
no,
But
now you're talking about my nephew who's been working for a long time in a job that he loved and a job that he got good performances in. But you're telling him that by April 28th, he has to be out of the office. But thank God he's working a long time. He's going to have a decent pension. And even
mm-hmm,
though they said in 2026 you can reapply, not if you're he's young enough to keep working.
mm-hmm.
So guess what? Retraining, rework. You know,
It's terrible.
but anyway, we're
Hundreds
getting
of
upset.
thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. So, um, I mine is. Do you have an idea as to the prompting of the 90-day tariff pause? What is
I
your what is
I
your
know my opinion. I think he's playing. Those I listened to the commentators and like Governor Chris Christie, who was his friend for a long time, but he said something. Trump became mad, and he ran against Trump. And the whole idea of tariffs, we're just a different kind of nation now, and
mm-hmm,
and you're taking it to the extreme. Every day I hear, should we go Christmas shopping now? Or should I buy my new dishwasher? This whole situation has created such uncertainty.
mm-hmm,
No one knows what to do. The stock market is up 3 hours and then it bottoms out. And the numbers that are lost money wise are
mm-hmm,
staggering.
mm-hmm.
These numbers, just last year, you wouldn't have heard, the Biden administration did all this wrong stuff. Yeah, right. They have all this up and down mess going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think if you're going to go, you want, if I want to go and attack China and I want to bring in Taiwan because there's a link there, but I don't think I should bring in the other countries, big or little. Let's just do it above board. You're saying they've been taken from us all this time, but taken from whom? The consumers paid whatever was asked of them. So you
Right.
have to be talking about your billionaire buddies. You have to be talking about them not making the money they should have been making, in your opinion.
Uh-huh.
90 days won't make a difference, but I just think this is play. It's like cat playing with a mouse. Make a decision. Go on.
I'm, I'm telling you, when he now my point of view on that, and then according to please excuse me, my allergies, some articles that I read, he made an about face when China threatened to pull their debt. China's trade war weapons. And this is in, let me see, this is MSN. China's
Mm-hmm.
trade war weapons, rare earth ban, and U.S. debt dump could cripple American economy. We have to rethink that thing. Experts predict that what's his name, Xi Jinping, willing to do whatever it takes to inflict pain on U.S., including cutting those supplies. Now, this is it said as trade tensions with China escalate, experts warn that Chinese President is Xi Jinping could retaliate with moves like cutting rare earth exports or dumping U.S. treasuries, actions that could cripple U.S. defense systems, spike borrowing costs, and trigger a global financial shock. They have all of this power. He changed his mind. He said a total ban on rare earth mineral exports, for example, could render American missiles, fighter jets, and even consumer technology like smartphones inoperable. As tensions with Washington rise, Beijing could also retaliate by dumping U.S. treasuries, a threat that has already sent jitters through financial markets. So,
Mm-hmm.
there is not one of our jet airplanes in the United States Air Force that does not have rare earths in multiple forms, particularly in magnets, said Mark Smith, CEO of NeoCorp and a 40-year veteran of the mineral mining industry. And he said if China stops exporting rare earths, the effect on U.S. military readiness would be immediate. Night vision goggles, hypersonic missiles, smart missiles that become dumb missiles, literally can shoot them, but they're not going to go wherever they go with a smart missile, he added. So the smart missiles can become dumb missiles if they keep messing with China. And so and then he says he'll take a look at exempting some larger U.S. companies hit especially hard by tariffs. And so that president over there is whatever do they call him President Jinping? So China holds. Listen to this. China holds $761 billion in U.S. debt, making it the second largest foreign holder after Japan.
Right.
A mass sell off could drive down the value of U.S. bonds and cause yields to spike, sharply increasing borrowing costs for the federal government. It can also weaken the U.S. dollar and send shockwaves through global financial markets. And then it talks about beyond treasuries, China could further devalue the yuan, a tactic it has used repeatedly to make its exports more competitive while pricing American goods out of its domestic market.
Right.
And then he announced, the guy over here in the White House announced Wednesday that he was issuing a 90-day pause on tariffs,
Mm-hmm.
except for China, which would face a 125% levy on its goods. China had responded to earlier tariffs with an 84% tax on U.S. imports, but to all the tough talk of for all the tough talk of escalation, Trump predicted a deal might be on the horizon. So China wants to make a deal. This is what he's saying. Now, you can't, anyway, hold your breath on what he says.
Yeah.
They just don't know how quite to go about it. It's one of those things I don't know quite yet. Proud people, and President Xi, is it Xi or Z? Xi is a proud man, he said Wednesday. So, he's always trying to, what is it? What do we call it? Deflect? Yeah, what did we say? He's trying to put the blame on,
Shifting the blame.
yeah, that too, but we call it something else. I think it's deflect. Anyway, putting it back on them, which really means shifting the blame. But he's good at that. But China holds they hold a lot of power over us, a
And
lot of power over the United States.
but the idea it should have been to, just be civil. Come and sit down at the table. We think you're getting to us. Let's deal with it. Let's talk it out. You know, we don't have to. Sometimes I've actually worked with people who felt they had to come in and just, what do they call, the hammer,
Uh-huh.
over your heads to get the job done. But I've
Right.
also worked with people who believed in, it, let us do it, not let me tell you how to do it, but let
Hmm.
us do it because I'm sitting there. I may know a better way to do it than you,
Right.
or someone over on the right may know something better than I. But we, you know, I don't know. This you, everybody loves the movies where we have the superheroes and
Uh-huh.
all of that, but we got to remember that's fiction. It's not real. We're
It is
gonna have
not
to sit
real.
down. We're gonna have to sit down and just be real about the thing.
That's just
We
entertainment.
right. You know, I, I
And then,
know that.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then this thought just came to my mind. That show he used to have where you're fired.
Yeah,
So he's
but
trying.
the whole idea that was
Mm-hmm.
that was Trump version one.
Mm-hmm.
That he ran the administration. He was firing somebody every week.
Uh-huh.
And how many secretaries of states did he have? How many military people did he have? But he didn't want to listen to any of them because he knew
Mhm.
best. He knew
Right.
best.
In his mind.
Yeah, in his mind. In his,
All right.
I think the next question I had, without leaving to go to the page, had to
Okay.
do with the fact that the Attorney General is running for Senate. Ken Paxton is running against John, what's his name, John Corwin, who said he
Corny.
wasn't running. He wasn't running, but now he's running. So I just wanted to know what was your initial reaction? How did you respond to that? Now we're still talking about Mr. Ken Paxton, who just came off that long impeachment trial, where the verdict surprised me because I thought,
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, folks, y'all see all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You see this, but you
Mm-hmm.
gonna say it's almost like if you have been a bad guy, whatever, well, we're welcome to this administration.
Of course.
I don't want no good guys in here.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's
So
what's
what was your
happening.
first reaction to that? My first reaction was, you got to be kidding me. But
You know what? Since they're on the same side, right?
yes, they're both
Right.
Republicans, they're both conservatives,
Right.
and and
Let them have at it. It
the
won't make
Texas
any difference one way or the other with me. Y'all go on at it.
the Texas commentators are saying this is going to be one of the most expensive races run in the history of the state. Because
I
Clinton
tell you,
already has a war chest, and
it's
so does
ridiculous.
Patrick. Oh, come on, give me a small break.
As long as they are over on the side that they are on,
They
hey,
get that,
y'all
yeah.
have at it. Just have.
They
May,
also
may the, I won't say the best, but anyway,
they
whatever.
also say this is going to be one of the most dirtiest, quote unquote, dirtiest campaigns in a long time.
Okay.
Because because
Uh-huh.
but it surprised me. But it boils down to who will get the support from the White House, um, who's been too conservative.
Uh-huh.
But we got to, start cleaning up some politics, maybe.
Well, I tell you. So I say, hey, y'all, if you want to fight each other, just go right ahead and do it.
And you know that's not right, Miss Shirley.
Oh, yes, it is. I ain't got no dog in this fight.
No dog in this one, huh?
So Precious over there on his bed, relaxing.
I
Let
feel
him have at it. Y'all go for it, fellas. Let the one that's gonna win win, and the one that ain't gonna win, you go somewhere and sit down. And then you know
it.
they're not gonna do that.
And we do have a new head of the Democratic Party here in Texas. So we have a new one. And
Okay.
yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that
So
take.
we're gonna see how this plays out, huh?
Yeah,
It is something else. They give us something to talk about. If we could talk about something every day if we wanted to.
true.
Okay.
You want another question?
Okay. Let me go here.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, we got the top two Republicans. I'm gonna skip number four.
Okay.
Um, um, oh yeah. Do you accept any of the current reasons that have been given for the sinkhole that opened up in Pleasant Grove,
Pleasant
taking the
Grove.
pickup truck and the trailer and the
Oh
attached
my
trailer?
goodness.
Yeah.
I heard.
Do
I
you
saw.
do you accept any of that reasoning?
And I know they said that there is water gushing under there somewhere, right? Which caused
Hmm.
a cave in, and something about the sewer.
Right, the sewage pipes underneath the
Uh-huh.
city.
And then, but the thing that I don't know. I believe that it could be what they're saying. It could be what they're saying, but the thing about it is they're talking about it could take years to get it all repaired or whatever. And I'm thinking, if that was another part of town,
Yes.
it wouldn't take years to do that.
Yeah. I,
So,
I'm
what do you think about?
I'm wondering if they can do something temporarily, so those the folks in the neighborhood, but they're part of this zero plan to get all the streets and things fixed. And I agree,
Hmm.
um, something has to be done. But they're saying the 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 damage, that kind of damage, where from the water and the old pipes corroding and rusting
Hmm.
out, that is a much bigger problem than just fixing the one thing. There seems to be quite a large area that needs to be repaired. But I do think they need to do something. Technically, it's not South Dallas, it's East Dallas because we're
Hmm.
talking Pleasant Grove.
Hmm.
But the patrons in that area have said for years they've asked and they've known that something was going to happen.
Hmm.
But this driver wound up in the hospital. Could have
Yes.
been very bad, very bad. But
Yes.
but I do think they need to do something and don't just, what do you call it, patchwork it.
Hmm.
You know, think in terms of fixing it on a more permanent basis. Those citizens deserve good streets, just like the ones all over the city.
Oh, yes, they do. But the thing is, they don't know because I think they said, well, they said every day it's opening up some more.
Yeah,
So how do they know and can they fix it right now? Because they don't know how much more this thing is going to open up.
I
And
don't know.
so, and I'm thinking, I know you, I mean, it's not feasible for some people to just pick up and leave, but by golly gee, if it was happening around me, I would have to find somewhere to go because they don't know whether it's going to open up a hole and swallow the houses or what. It could be just, it's just, it's to me, it's really a scary thing.
Yeah, I think of it as a serious matter because you got children in there. You have people who maybe new to the area and not even aware, or just drive down the street. You know, the media is full of those situations where people were just driving and sinkholes open up underneath
Right,
them, which is what happened with this gentleman here.
right. Didn't know it, and so it could happen. It could happen again. I'm telling you, it's a scary situation, and it's one where they can give all the answers, all the things that they could try to do, but they don't know what's going to happen with that sinkhole. They just don't know, and that's what the scary part of it is.
But I do think the city's that plan should be implemented right away.
Right
Yeah,
away. Yes,
there's
ma'am.
just so much needs to be done, but some things you can't table and wait.
Right, exactly, exactly. And so, anyway, in that part, like I'm saying, you saw the people who were interviewed,
Yeah,
and so that's why I said that part of town. So, if it was another part, uh, it would probably play out a little differently. But I think they're going to have to go ahead. I think they're going to go ahead and get on it because they don't know how much more this thing is going to open up. It's just impossible to tell.
right.
It's impossible to tell, but I believe they're going to go ahead and work on as much as they can, and then those workers they could be out there trying to work and this stuff cave in. It's ooh, my lord,
Well,
just
you
don't
want to
know.
take you want to take another?
Yes, ma'am, I certainly
All
will.
right.
Here goes. I'm going to go with my this about. What are your thoughts on Michael Newberry's case, which caused him to be convicted and imprisoned for capital murder almost 30 years ago?
Is this the young man who's coming up for acquittal? You know,
Yes,
about to let him go,
they're
time served.
considering it. They're
Yeah,
considering it because the late that what's her name? I have that here too. She withheld crucial
evidence.
evidence
Yes,
and then got before the court and said that she didn't feel like that she withheld anything that would have made a difference, but she wasn't supposed to withhold
it wasn't her
anything.
decision to make.
She was not supposed to withhold anything from the defense. And
Right,
and it says that she is the sole what is it, justice over there
right.
in that she's got all of this power of judgment in her hands, but they're thinking about they're considering whether they should bring her up for
On charges.
yeah, and things like that. And then I'm trying to find that piece. And then the other who is it, the it's not the prosecutor, the attorney, because since this has come up, this lady and he have been at odds with each other. And so he's thinking about having her recused from so many cases.
Right. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Because she's corrupted.
Well, I just hate that he lost all those years, because technically it was a mistake in the judicial system. And somehow they're not going to be able to give him back those years. And
Oh,
don't know if he's going to sue Collin County, I think it is.
right.
And I don't know if, you know, I don't know. Can they wipe his? I don't know if they can wipe his record clean.
Oh,
But
they
look,
have to. Yeah.
he has lost a lifetime
Yeah.
sitting in prison for something he did not do, and the person who did it, you don't really know if at that time she knew she was doing wrong or it was just.
She knew she was
I
doing
think she
wrong, but
knew,
she wanted to win the case.
but if they do, when he gets his hearing, they are gonna just, they're gonna the time served because it shouldn't have been served to begin with.
That's right, exactly. Because
A
this
miscarriage of justice, we will call it.
uh
Okay.
okay, this is in Cook County, Texas. It said that a judge on Thursday recommended a new trial for Michael Newberry, who was convicted of capital murder in 1997,
Mm-hmm.
in finding that the former district attorney in the yeah in the case withheld crucial evidence that could have influenced the jury verdict. And then the judge Lee gave he had made a 43-page ruling, uh, and it made a significant, he said, turn that made a significant turn in the decision, and the decades long legal battle, and it could ultimately lead to Newberry's release, pending a final decision by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. And that judge said, I cannot believe what I am reading, when the judge read that stuff that that lady withheld. And she said, "Oh my God," whispered Amber Newberry, that's his wife. She said, her voice trembling as she read the judge's findings for the first time. I cannot believe, she's the one who said, I cannot believe what I'm reading. And Gabriel found that former Cook County District Attorney, her name is Janelle Haverkamp, or Haverkamp, yeah, now serving as Cook County's only district judge, failed to disclose police and grand jury statements made by Newberry's alleged accomplice, Dion Moore, evidence that could have cast doubt uh, on the state's case. And the guy even said that the guy didn't, he was no part of the planning.
Right.
And
Right.
then there was one part they say where he said that the guy did know, but then he told the grand jury that the guy had nothing to do with it. He didn't know about it. And this person just withheld that from the defense attorney, which is against the law. That's a crime. And then gets into court and says she didn't know that it was what she was holding was wrong and all that. You know, these people are something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
They will lie, as they say, at the drop of a hat,
Yes.
and have no remorse, and like, I can do this and I'm going to do it. And so the defense attorney could not even plead the case like he was supposed to,
Right.
because this evidence she was here. Oh my goodness, it's time for us for us to close out. So do you have another question that's pressing that you would like to bring?
No, we've just gone through. We have actually gone through almost everything. Uh,
That
did
you-
did you get
Okay.
it? Well, this is the first time in 2 years the Supreme Court will be hearing a religious case which involves the First Amendment. So, what do
Okay.
you think the outcome will be? First of all, I know you're comfortable with the First Amendment and all of that, and this has to do with taxes and you know exemptions and the like. First of all, do you think it should be in the Supreme Court? But it has gone through all those levels to get there. But do you really think it should be there?
Uh, uh, well, I guess if it's gone through the process, it should. But if I wouldn't want it to be there, because those lines up there are so.
Yes, yes. So, what about separation of church and state, Pastor Shirley? Don't we have that? The
Well,
separation of church and state?
what we're supposed to have.
Right. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, we're supposed to. So, they're trying to change everything. And, a thing. Anyway, okay. But yeah, it's there's so much going on. And there's so much other that the Supreme Court should be looking at. But I
Right.
know it takes
Right.
years for some of these cases to get there. I know that. But with the court, the makeup that we have now, it's just terrible, because usually everything that should be done for the good, it turns out that they are ruled for the bad. So anyway, that's all right. So thank God, we're okay.
Yeah,
We're okay.
I was surprised, and I agree, concur. I concur with you. The
Uh-huh.
thing, it's taken a while for them to get there, and
Mm-hmm.
they haven't touched these type cases in 2 years. But
Mm-hmm.
it is going to be interesting to see how they resolve it with
Mm-hmm.
these conservatives on one side,
Yes,
you-
ma'am.
you- and the appointees. Now, let's not forget which administration
Of course.
appointed
Right.
the uh,
Right.
but it is interesting. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think some things shouldn't go because notice what's happening. They are reversing some decisions here. They're
Mm-hmm.
reversing. They're going backwards on some things that have been law for a long time.
Right.
Well, you just never know how it's going to come out this time.
Exactly. Exactly. But we've had a wonderful, wonderful show today, Dr. Mack. Uh, and so we have other questions that we will carry over, God willing, until next Friday, along with some more added uh, topics. So,
Every day, new
oh
things.
yes. So everybody, if you have comments, please feel free to send the comments to us. If you have something you want us to discuss, please send that to us. We'll appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us on the Mother's Board Inc. Dr. Mack, you want to close some closing
Well,
remarks?
please join me on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock for from the Biblical Files of Dr. Mack. And we are in the book of First Thessalonians, and we'll be looking at the women in that book as well as the blacks or the Africans. May God bless and keep you.
All right, and tomorrow night, Saturday evening at 7:39 p.m. and Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Join me for Greater Gospel Temple Church of Praise and Worship and Inspiration of God Ministries. And also, I would like to say tomorrow at 2 p.m. at oh gosh, I think it's the Trinity Lighthouse. But anyway, Natika Bell will be funeralized in Denison, Texas tomorrow at 2 p.m. And Lillian Nelson from Denison, and I think she lives in Fort Worth, but she will be funeralized on Sunday. So we're praying for those families and for all the families that I don't know about. We are praying for and with you that God will sustain you in this time and afterwards. We love you so much. And please remember Dr. Mack, like she said, on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And we love you so much. And Point of Views on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Talk to you later, Dr. Mack.
Same here.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Just because you hear the silence, that doesn't